Chain Drug Review, and Mass Market Retailers Video Forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeffrey Wolt, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Media IQ. Welcome to a special edition of our video forum from the NACDS annual meeting. We're pleased to have as our guest today Tony DalPonte, President of Pharmacy and Health at Albertsons. Tony, great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You recently added over-the-counter healthcare to your portfolio, which is extensive already. How do you plan to leverage synergies between pharmacy, OTC, and other parts of your store, I guess including food, that touch on healthcare?
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole point and a lot of the purpose in connecting both OTC and pharmacy is that the pharmacist is a natural bridge between RX and OTC and honestly vice versa. And so as we think about the connection, we think about expanding healthcare and care into the aisles. And to your point, it also allows the pharmacist to have a holistic view, specifically in a grocery store where we have access to not only nutrition, but to pharmacy and OTC, and really provide that holistic care that connects all of those journeys.
Pharmacists are eager to do more.
They are.
They want to practice at the top of their license. What steps are you taking to help them do things like test and treat, monitor patients with chronic conditions, and in some states even prescribe?
Yep. Yeah, it's I think to your point, pharmacists are really eager to do more. They're trained to do more. You know, they went to school to do more, and they continue their education. They continue to be able to provide these things. I think what's critical for us though is as we as leaders, as we look to run the business appropriately, we have to make sure that we're providing the pharmacist opportunity to do this, not just say, hey, stack something on top of what you're doing today. And so what we do is we look at technology to free up space, right? And then we look at education and continuing education programs for training. So pharmacists not just want to do it, but also feel confident and comfortable in doing it. You know, and then we really work with NACDS and other groups to make sure that pharmacists are reimbursed for these services, because otherwise it's not sustainable. And just because we want to do it doesn't mean we're going to be able to do it through a business model to keep it where, you know, it's we're able to keep the business running. So those are the three things that we've been focusing.
One of the states with the most liberal pharmacy practice regulations is Idaho.
Yep.
Where, of course, Albertsons is based. Yeah. So tell me about your experience there and what lessons should all of us be learning about what pharmacy can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Idaho is a great example and a great use case for when regulation actually matches up with education and opportunity. And so we have been very progressive in the state. The state's been very supportive, and we've taken advantage of it to really start to put some of the things like test and treat and pharmacist prescribing to practice. We've taken advantage of some of the progressive technician laws, and I think it's a really great example of again, if you can responsibly expand scope safely using guardrails and protocols, being still focused on outcomes and data. And I think Idaho has shown that it works, and there's room for that. And I think, you know, I'm not sure the full, we say that there's always a tipping point with consumers, with physicians, with payers, and then obviously with pharmacy. So we control that one portion of it, and I think we're seeing, you know, some really good results, but we need everyone to come along to that.
And are regulators and payers in other states paying attention to what's going on in Idaho?
Well, outside of the state of Idaho, it's been a little slow, but we have seen movement, and we've seen movement not across all the same categories like they have been in Idaho, but there's other states like Colorado that have been progressive. The state of Illinois has been progressive, and so we're seeing some of these things and some of the movements. But what we're really hoping is at Albertsons we're running a program with Blue Cross of Idaho, right? And we're really hoping that as we gather these outcomes and as we show that we're reducing costs and improving outcomes, that's something from other payers and other states to learn from.
You mentioned text, you also mentioned automation. How are you deploying those? Could you elaborate a little bit on how you're deploying those things to help free your pharmacist.
Yeah, and so I think that's critical, right? Because as we want pharmacists to become at the center of care, in the face of neighborhood healthcare, all of these things, these terms that you hear everyone throwing around, it's really important that you find a way to make that happen, right? And so what we technicians in technology are all going to be in automation extremely critical to where we think this industry is moving, and so. We will continue to support the growth of technician as a profession, the responsibility that we have, the hours that we provide them, and then leveraging technology to amplify their role in the pharmacy. So again, at the end of the day, everything shifts back to that face-to-face ability for a pharmacist to sit down, have the time, and have the ability to go through that type of patient care when it comes to.
How are you thinking about AI and its application both to your operations and I guess to its usefulness as a tool to communicate with your patients?
Yeah, I think it's funny because it's customers may not know it, but it's there, right? And so things like labor forecasting and ordering, right? Things like the way that we contain calls through IVR, things like how we build algorithms and it continuously learns on outreach for vaccines or prescription ready messages. All these things are already enacted today, and AI continues to self-improve and help us get better. I think we're looking at it incorporating into workflow. We've already started testing this, but again, I think it's in ways that helps the pharmacist and the technician free up to spend time with customers and with patients. So it enhances that relationship, not does the opposite, right? And so we're really focused on finding ways that we stare at workflow, look at monotonous tasks, look at tasks that don't add value to the customer, and say this is where we're going to infuse automation and AI. And I think the way that AI is progressing, we will continue to get better really quickly.
Final question for you.
Yeah.
Last time you and I talked, you mentioned that your experience during COVID with immunizations and other forms of care really was transformative for Albertsons pharmacy business. How are some of these things, or how do you expect some of these things we've been talking about to push your pharmacy business and the industry as a whole further ahead and expand the perception of pharmacy as a neighborhood healthcare source?
I think we're at a tipping point for care at the pharmacy, right? You have an aging population in the United States. I think within the next couple of years, the Medicare will the largest percentage of Americans will be eligible under Medicare for services. And I think as we continue to push our agenda for pharmacy care and we look at the ECAPS bill and looking at our ability to be reimbursed for services under Medicare, I think that is going to be critically important. And we're building everything, like you talked about AI, you talked about technology, you talked about the advancing scope of technicians. All of these things are being built to support healthcare at the counter and serving the customer base. And so I think as we as an industry continue to look towards shifting from dispensing, which has become a commodity, right, to actually providing care, I think all of the things that we're doing with technology, AI, and technicians are really going to allow that to become that to become today's reality versus the future.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to see you and others bring that together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be how we work together that actually makes that dream a reality. And I think we're well on our way.
Okay, well, thanks for filling us in.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
absolutely.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.